Hey, everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Here we are yet again for episode
Good day.
11?
11? 11, yeah.
12.
12. Episode 12
I
of
think
the
so.
Becoming Us podcast. So welcome, First Christian family. Glad that you're sticking with us through this. Glad that we're sticking with us through this.
Yeah.
Actually.
It's been a fun journey.
It's been a good time. It's been a good time. So it's great to have you. Hi, Zach. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
Hello.
We're all ready for naps after lunch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Need to figure out a different
Good
time.
afternoon if you're
Yeah.
watching this in the evening.
Yeah.
Good
Good
evening.
afternoon.
But
Or
it's
good
good. I
morning.
got my cup of coffee. I'm ready to go. Feeling
There you go.
refreshed, energized.
I have my tea, but it's
Not
imaginary.
there.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm drinking it.
Yeah. So we are on another week of the Between Sundays sermon series that Jerry's been doing. And this last one was all about serving when we went through John 13 and the washing of the
Yeah.
disciples' feet.
And you know, how ironic that that sermon fell on the same Sunday as a volunteer appreciation dinner.
I was gonna say something
Like that
because
wasn't planned.
He started talking about that in the sermon, and I was like, you know what? That makes so much sense. I
Yeah.
wonder if that's why he did that.
Total-
Oh my goodness.
yeah, totally
If so,
wasn't planned.
sweet. If not,
God has
Even
a way
cooler.
of making things
He
work
does.
like that.
Better than we could have planned on our own.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Yeah. And sometimes
Yeah.
we have no idea what he's up to, and then he reveals it, and we're like, bam.
yeah, for sure. It was cool. We got to come together. We got to honor all the people that serve and do so much. And I know a lot of the people listening to this are definitely those people working hard, diligently, being the hands and feet of Jesus.
They've
So
even
thank
been
you
those
guys.
people. Yeah. Not just that it could even be people that are far away that used to be here.
Right.
Because we know that nothing gets done well here without a volunteer
Right.
somewhere in the scene somewhere.
Yeah, because that's what the church has been ran off of, for so long. Even if ministers weren't here, I bet the church would be
Just fine. Maybe better.
Maybe
Right.
better. Let's be honest. Maybe even better. It was cool getting to honor a few people that were have just been so instrumental to everything at First Christian Church. We gave out only 2 awards this time.
We did, yeah.
We had some fun ones in our pockets that we thought about breaking out, but
Yeah.
the people that we wanted to honor was the award of excellence that we gave to the elders, and then the Living Legacy Award to the wonderful couple, Don and Shirley Carter.
Yep.
So it was so cool getting to have that moment. I know that they hated it and would rather of us not have done it, but we did it, and we enjoyed just honoring all the work that they've put in through so many years,
Yeah.
service
Yeah.
and everything.
Decades, I think, is what I said. Very,
Decades.
very emphatically from the
Yes.
stage. Decades.
Yeah.
They have done some. One
So
of the
much.
things that I think of right away, 2 things I learned from both of them. Don taught me what fasting was about. I had no clue. And then all of a sudden we were doing that before we went on tour. And that was something huge. And it's something that a lot of people don't experience in their entire lifetime. But thankfully they modeled it, but they taught us. But then Shirley taught us, sometimes unexpectedly, but taught us how to dig into Scripture and to live it out. So I remember her calling us out one time on something, our behavior after we had won and we were playing Bible Bowl. We'd done a great job. We thought. We came out in the hall and Shirley immediately is in our faces like, that is the worst kind of behavior a Christian shows, even if they've won.
Wow.
Oh,
I
wow.
thought, wow. She
that is-
was shorter than all of us, but she sure knew what to do and what to say. She didn't have
Yeah.
any trouble. But I just remember how she poured into us.
Yeah. Yeah. Humility, whenever you have any sort of performance as a Christian, you're like, I don't even know. One time I was at a thing and we had there's a homeschool Christian mime act
Oh my
that
gosh, that
that I
sounds
gotta
like a real thing.
that I gotta see. Like they had the makeup and everything, and it was compelling. Like they had the striped shirts, the white face.
Wow.
I couldn't take it serious. I was like, wait, they're doing what? And then, but it like moved me. And like I was like, that is crazy. And I saw him in the bathroom, and I was like, I went up to one of the mimes. I was like, look, man, like that was so. He was like, glory to God. and just walked off. I was like, I just got Jesus juked by a mime. like I was trying to give him praise, and he said no. He's like, this is all about God. And I was like, that's crazy. But I bet he had a Shirley Carter saying, hey, that's your response every time. Like, don't get a big head. And I know in that Christian homeschool mime act community, they can get some big heads, I'm sure.
Well, she knew what to do to help that build that character, and even the fact that she would surprise and say, oh, by the way, you're doing a devotion on the very Bible passage that you're studying in this week. I'm like, I am? Yes. And you're doing next one, or it's just that kind of thing. She really tried to make us see that what was more important was not that we study the text just alone, but that we actually practice what it said. So love that about her.
One wonderful example. That's so great. So what are we talking about here today, guys? What are we feeling?
We're talking about serving
Like Jesus.
Right?
Yeah.
Or, maybe a few things from this passage. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well,
John 13
bring it up
is where we're at. So, I took a little bit of a different spin that maybe I'll just insert as we kind of talk through this. But when it comes to that big idea of serving and doing as Jesus did, like he said, you do as I've done for you. This is the way you serve. What kinds of things, even in preparing for today and listening to Jerry on Sunday, Matt, did you take away or want to highlight for us?
Well, I'm always intrigued by some of the things that we don't think about this passage. It doesn't highlight it in any fashion, but the fact that Jesus is, washing the disciples' feet, which that's not a surprise if you've read any other parts of the Gospels. But what does surprise me, even when I think of it in this passage, is would you wash the disciples' feet that was going to betray you? I know what Jesus tells us to do, but it's one thing to say that, but he knew in literally hours. Yeah. This is the same person that was going to betray him, but he still did it. Right. There's a message there.
Yeah. Yeah, we're not quick to do things for people who have hurt us, or, it's hard for us to know that someone's going to hurt us or wrong us, but like Jesus did, but it's hard for us to love people the way Jesus tells us to love them when they've wronged us.
Well, and he knows what's going to happen. It's not
right. Yeah.
So in this case, he knows versus us not knowing. Right. But when it's happened, it communicates that we don't serve someone because they're worthy. Right. And I think, that's easy to say out loud. It's easy for me to tell people, you know what? You need to serve those people who are cruel, mean, maybe even did something unforgivable in most people's minds. Yeah. You need to serve that person too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So. Yeah. Yeah, you don't serve them because they're deserving of being waited on or served, or you serve them because they are worthy of God's love and Jesus' love, and the way they experience that, the way anybody would experience that, is through us in relationship with them and us loving them the way that Jesus tells us to love them and care for them.
And when we're serving someone, we're actually providing for some need they have. Right. So we're providing for a need or something like that with the very person that may seem, not worthy. I don't know a better word, but
right. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that worthy, not worthy, we do it because they are worthy in God's eyes, but actually, like, in eternity's eye, as far as, like, worthy of love, like, that's not really, like, our perspective, because we've sinned. We've fallen short. We're not, but in spite of us not being worthy, God still pursued us, and that's why, like, I don't deserve the love, and he's freely given it to me, and that's why I'm freely giving it to you. Having that accurate mindset as far as, like, just the gospel and understanding your own identity in Christ and how, like, you are nothing without him. So, yeah, of course you're not worthy. Of course this isn't something that you deserve, but I've been given so much and I didn't deserve it, so that's why I'm giving it to you. It's grace. It's undeserved gifts. So yeah, all those little bits of service, every bit along the way, thinking about, whether they have the capacity to hurt you or they have already hurt you. It's a big deal. I remember trying to figure out, I had that image of like what really is grace and how can I represent that entirely within myself. Like I need to embody and mirror Christ as much as I can in my own life. So I had a moment where I was like, who are all the people that have hurt me in the past, and how can I intentionally go back into their world? Because I removed myself entirely just out of self-preservation, protection, trying to make sure I never come in contact with them again. So I was like, okay, Christ went into the world of his enemies, and he loved them until they killed him. So am I willing to potentially put myself, can I go back into the land of my enemies, and what can I do that is an undeserved gift, a way to serve, a way to be there for them in ways that they would never do for me, and they will never expect that from me, and they will be confused by the fact that I'm doing this at all, and they might even reject and punch back and do it even more because they probably have had years of guilt and remorse about the way that they maybe treated me. So like so how can I go back and how can I offer love whenever all they did was give me hate? And it was such a big moment of my like shaping of my own identity in my life, trying to root out all of that bitterness and hatred. And it was a way to like really like forgiveness ain't real until it's real in this context. Like I really have to forgive if I could even get to the point where I can approach them and then love them on top of that. Forgiveness is like it's a sweet thing, but when you talk about God's love, it's just like a starting point, because we get grace on grace on grace on grace lavished upon us over and over and again. So rooting that out and figuring out how to love is such a difficult thing, and I think everybody should figure out how to do that on some form, some level. If you really want to be like Christ, figure out like, no, there's some specific Judases potentially in your life.
Right.
So how can you wash their feet in spite of that and go back and not do it and not have any expectation of anything back? Not for them to have a whole moment like, oh, I'm so sorry that I hurt you in that way. Because that's when you go into it with that motive, then that's bad too. No, just loving for the sake that they don't deserve God's love and you didn't either, so you go do it anyway. But it's hard. Have you guys ever had a moment like that where you felt like, I'm called to go and love this person in spite of them deserving my hate?
Yeah, I think there's been lots of times in my life where, people have intentionally hurt me, and don't remove myself from, like you said, I don't protect myself enough. I actually reinsert myself into their life, or don't really pull away from them, being naive and thinking, well, they won't do that again, but then just subjecting myself to, like you said, over and over and over again. Maybe that's a I want to say that it's a fault of mine, that I forget those things too quickly, I think, and still love them and want to do for them and want the best for them, even when, like you said, out of self-protection for me, I would retreat and go a different way and not block them, but put a wall up between me and them and sever a relationship or whatever. But I have a hard time doing that.
Yeah. And like part of it can be like as you develop into Christ likeness, like you can embody that, and he gives you a much stronger back for those kinds of relationships.
Yeah.
But like when you're first starting out, there's definitely like, you need boundaries. You need to be able to to get away, because I don't think I could have done that unless I did have a moment where God kind of plucked me out of that situation, put me in a different one where I could heal, become better and whole, and have that understanding so that I could eventually go back into that situation. It was such a necessary thing for me to have that moment where I got away so that I could go back. So like that like, I don't know, I just don't have boundaries. I get that too. So like later on in life, I know I can do it in the moment a lot easier. And sometimes like maybe it's a fault, maybe it's not, it depends on what kind of person I'm talking to. You know, like people are like, why would you do that to yourself? Like they just did that.
Right.
And like, well, no, like that's just what, like I get that's what the Christian thing to do, but what's the real thing to do? It's like, no, like the Christian way to do it is the way I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
You know, call it bad boundaries or whatever, but you know,
It's just hard for people to do that. I mean,
Yeah.
and even people like, I know people who hold grudges for years and years and years and years, and you know, they just shut people out of their life because of one instance, and they're like, no, thank you. I do not receive that anymore. I don't want that in my life anymore.
And that's the amazing part of when Jesus is transforming us, we can come out of that.
Right.
Probably not easily. I just think of a lot of people who have done some amazing things because of the transformation that's happened to them, and serving people, going back and serving people that would probably be shocked that they would ever come back and care.
Yeah. And I don't want to like downplay certain situations in people's life where it was a matter of life and death.
Yeah.
Whether or not you removed this person from your life, because those instances are real.
Yeah.
You know,
like there's
there's
need for
some
boundaries.
levels that there are layers to that onion to peel back.
You should
So
not do any amount of that in isolation without a community and without telling other people what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because those potentially hostile situations, especially the ones that are like, you know, potentially even violent. you know,
I mean, you've got
history and past.
abusive situations and things like that, and that's
you can't.
that's a different animal.
Forgiveness looks different.
Absolutely.
and stuff are different
Yeah.
for everybody. So
Yep.
you always need to do it in the context of community with people that love and know your situation, and hopefully you have fully shared all of that and had all the little parts of your heart and life and crevices pulled out, so that it's all on the table, so people actually know everything that's at risk whenever you go into that situation, because your community should help back you up in prayer and just potentially physically being there and even more. So
I see. I don't think the people see this, but we see some of the text up on the screen. But it reminds me, you know, what was going on with Peter. You know, we were kind of thinking through, you know, here Jesus is doing this, having this moment, and it's interesting that Scripture keeps this in. This is something I would probably keep out. You know, what was Peter up to? You know, we talked about it a little bit, but
Right.
and let's just read some of that. It says, then, you know, he's trying to wash the disciples' feet. Then Simon Peter replied, then not just wash my feet, but my hands and my head as well. He's like, give me a whole bath.
Yeah.
Don't just wash my feet if you're going to do this at all, because he rejected it from the very get-go. Peter had a little thing going on he was wrestling with, for sure.
well, in just some of my notes, I'm looking. Peter wanted dignity without humiliation. I know you're thinking, what? In the sense that, you know, this whole passage is about being humble. It's not that Jesus lost his authority. We talked about this, but he didn't lose his authority or his identity. And yet, what did he do? He still did something that was like, this was a part of the hospitality that you would show to someone's house. And probably you've heard this before, but people walked on, you know, their feet were very dirty. There was dusty roads.
Yep.
And roads means there's a lot of traffic, but the traffic that they had and what we have today are a little different. It's not tires going across
There's
the road.
Animal
And they leave
waste.
They leave evidence that they've been on that.
Yeah.
And so that was probably some of what was going, you know, was on their feet. And so they usually had the lowest servant of the house that would have this job.
Right.
So, you know, most people would probably think that that's the lowest servant if they knew who that was, and kind of maybe just, you know, steer away from that person.
Yeah. And from a leadership standpoint, like some people think that because I'm like the principal of the school, I can't go and do this, or because I'm lead pastor, then I'm not going to get into the weeds with all this other stuff. Whatever, like, no, like you don't lose your identity if you do these things.
Right.
If anything, it solidifies it that this is who you are. Like, I just hear so many stories of like lead pastors and stuff like that, and like, you know, I always and there's one story of this intern that I always heard that you know, he's like, I'm not going to go there and help unload all this stuff. And it's like, no, lead pastor's out there. So if he's out there, everybody's out there. You know, like that's just what it is. It doesn't lose identity, but sets the standard, which is definitely what Jesus was trying to do in this situation. It's like, this is what we are all to do. You know, just as I did this, now you do it to one another. So it's a excellent example and the standard, and you don't lose your identity.
So
lowering yourself.
The world says, when you know you are important, make others serve you. That's what the world says. But Jesus says, when you know who you are in God, you are free to kneel and to serve others and to say, I'm not above helping serve you in a way that might be, unusual for sure. That's definitely here, but not just that. It's that there's no task. And I was trying to think of a modern equivalent, and the best I could do is if, we had this event we all experienced, but someone who was trying to model what Jesus was doing here by washing the disciples' feet would, like, when it's over, they would go and, like, in the bathrooms and clean the bathrooms up, because there's obviously things that go on there. Yeah. But think about that, not getting recognition for for the service that you're doing because you're serving genuinely, right? But actually doing something that might seem like, I might get my hands dirty. This is below me. I could just skip this part, let someone else do it. Yeah. And just thinking of, there's probably better ones than that example, but.
Yeah. I'm thinking about, like, checking your motives and stuff like that. Just you bring that up. It made me think of the line that my mom, whenever I got married, she says that they tell this to everybody, but never stop out serving one another. And I catch myself constantly. Like, the thing I've been laughing at recently is how ADD my wife is. So if she doesn't see it, it doesn't exist. So the thing about cleaning is when you clean it all up, it just looks how it's supposed to look all the time. Right. And, I might be up for 3 hours before she gets up and I'm cleaning and I'm doing all this stuff. But then, like, sometimes I feel obligated, like, oh, I gotta make sure and tell her that I spent 3 hours. Otherwise she won't notice that I did all this work, and I did it because I love her and I want her to know that I love her, and that's why I'm going to tell. Otherwise she wouldn't even notice that I did all that stuff. And then I wouldn't get the credit for it. And I'm like, oh, that means that
intent.
What am I going to do this whether I get noticed about it or not? Or is this genuinely just what I want to do? And then there's just that general, like, keep your house in order, dude. Like, it shouldn't be dependent on like attention from your wife and stuff like that. So that's always fun and interesting. I'm trying to think of whenever it comes to, because, like, your identity can get wrapped up into it, so that can keep you from doing it. Praise from man is another reason why. Like, you get that whole, like, oh, like, I like the way the people look at the people that serve, so that's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it for that sake and not for the sake of just genuine love. But what are some other things that you guys think can keep people from really putting what are some other roadblocks and things?
Well, you said one, pleasing people. That's one that came to mind. I made a list even. Or some people think, well, you know what? If I serve, probably it's earning salvation. I am getting God's approval, and He wants me to do that. So that's just going to going to give me a little more security.
Legalism. I had a guy that never went to church, and I grew up with him and stuff like that. And he had a whole brownie point system with the man upstairs that he talked about. And he was more straight laced than I think I was growing up. But it was like the genuine, like, he had a count in his head and all this stuff. But I would talk to him, and I'm like, so, like, tell me more about this relationship that we have. And he prayed probably more than I did, all this stuff, but he never went to church, and I'm like, but it was definitely kind of a legalistic way of processing everything, where I got to do this, and if I don't do all this and I don't keep up with all this stuff, then I'm not gonna be accepted. I got to have this outweigh this, good outweigh the evil of my life, and that's not grace or gift. It's thinking that you can earn your salvation, but it's admirable that he constructed some kind of theology in his head outside of the church.
Sometimes that's
adjacent from everything.
Serving looks like we're trying to get people to admire us, as opposed to I'm genuinely seeing a need. I want to help. I want to, not only that, I want to obey Jesus. You know, that's the opposite would be obeying Jesus. Like he's commanding us to go do that. It's not, hey, if you would like to, it's like, hey, this is the virtue, a strong virtue that every Christian must be a part of. And so he's modeling it here right before his death. It's like the biggest thing he did before he went to the cross. So I think it like wraps up all those other things we're supposed to do, but having the right intent, having the right motive, having that is definitely important. I'm looking to see if I missed anything, but of course, the reason we serve too is another part of it is because we're thanking Jesus. You know, it's not just that we're doing what he's commanded, but hey, you said it, Zach, earlier, you've done so much for me that I could never repay, but as a thank you, not as to earn salvation, but as a thank you, I'm going to do this. I'm going to serve other people. And you know, there's that other scripture that says that when you've gone to the least of these, you've actually done that to me. Yeah. You know, visiting people in prison, visiting the sick, and caring for widows and orphans, and those who do not get justice, but caring that they get just actions and stuff like that, right. Fairness.
Yeah, that's definitely. I always talking to the kids like you gotta be okay with sitting with the smelly kid. Like whatever you think in your cultural context is the least of these, because it's different in different seasons in the lives and different times, because you know, you're sitting there at a middle schooler at lunch tables and everybody's sizing each other up. There's probably some people that you're like, oh, I would never be over there with them because X, Y, and Z. And when you get to be an adult, you have a different list, you know. So what are you considering to be the least? And what can you do to serve and love? And then you got the pure and faultless religion that we can never get away from with James, you know, orphans and widows. That it's like, man, at the very least, we need to do this well.
Doing things that people can't do for themselves.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's awesome.
Man, oh man. It's good stuff.
So I probably read into this more than most people do.
It's okay.
Because that's what I do sometimes, and try to learn something new, because you know we've read this for years and gotten the whole serving concept out of it, and Jesus wants me to love people and serve them the way that he has served me. But then I'm like, okay, what else am I needing to see here in what Jesus has done? And that was, to me, the big thing that jumped out to me. There's a song that we sing that says, you don't have to clean up before you come home.
Yeah.
Right. That come to Jesus, I think, a Christian Stanfield song. But he wasn't just teaching a concept on serving, but he was also trying to tell the disciples and tell us, I'm willing to get close to the dirty parts in your life that nobody else wants to touch. Like that's the place that I want to go first. Ooh. That's the place I want to clean up first. Because feet are gross. Yeah. Right. Feet are disgusting. Like you said, there's all kinds of stuff on these guys' feet after walking on these roads. And that's where Jesus went.
Hobbit feet.
Yeah. I mean, that's right where he went to. And we all have places like that in our lives. We all have the places that, you know, we don't want anybody else to see, or we hope nobody notices, or we look at it and we say, well, why would Jesus want any part of that?
Yeah.
But that's probably going to be the part of our life he's going to address first whenever we invite him in and we surrender to him, kind of like we were talking a little bit earlier. So Jesus moves towards the messiest parts of us, to clean them up.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson for us to learn, that we have to be willing to love people in the places and parts of their life that are the most unlovable.
Yeah. Yeah, the parts that they might not even be able to see, because the first thing that I think of when you say that is you can't smell your own stink.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's the invisible things that people keep on tripping over in your life, and you're not even aware that this is a problem, because it's so much a part of you that you cannot see it. So there are the things that, you know, you do see, and you know, oh, that's a problem of mine. But then there's the hidden things that the Holy Spirit, I mean, once you start in a walk with him, that he reveals to you, and you're like, oh, has that always been there? Yeah, it's time. it's time to clean that up.
Yeah.
It's time to handle that. And the fact that Jesus, he knows those little dark crevices and dark corners and smelly areas covered up with mold and whatever else of our souls, you know, and he approaches and he has the solution. He has the spiritual bleach, you know, like, and he's ready to jump in there and get his hands dirty, trying to make sure that he can restore our souls. It's so important. But yeah, that first, like, you might not be able to see it yourself, and that's whatever. And then also, like, I think of if you don't let Jesus into those parts of your life, you're gonna plateau so quickly because of your own, like, maybe pride, maybe whatever. Because I'm thinking of a book. It's called Emotionally Healthy Spirituality. It's a wonderful book if you're trying to figure out, like, okay, I have some hidden things and I need to figure out how to let Jesus into that. That's what that book is entirely about. And the main thing that he always talks about is the analogy of an iceberg. Okay, an iceberg, what you see, it's this massive thing that can destroy ships, right? But it is only like the top maybe 10-20% what you see. The mass that is actually what is the problem is underneath the surface, and that's the destructive force. Like, what is underneath the surface, and there's so many of those things that we get baptized, we clean the outside up pretty quick, but we never let God into that dark crevice, corner, closet, because we are ashamed of it. We think that it's too messy, and God's not, Jesus, he's not going to take the time to really help me through that. It's so much a part of my life where if I lose that, then I don't know who I am anymore. And that's another thing we can hold on to things for. But yeah, we got all things that are hidden will come into the light, and it's going to happen anyway. And I think of, this is just one of my stories I always talk about, whenever Joshua and Jericho, they're commanded to go, and, you know, they're not say, don't take anything, destroy everything, kill everything, you know, but don't take anything. And then there's a guy that pockets some things, then hides it under his tent. And I always think of that because the whole group of Israelites, they suffer. There ends up being the sickness. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and they end up casting lots, finding out, or going all the way through the process to find out it's this guy, it's his tent, he's hiding something. They're supposed to not leave anything on the table or take anything with him, but he kept that with him. Because of that, everybody suffered. And I'm like, man, if you don't handle it and you don't walk with God through and let him handle it, it will get exposed whether you like it or not. And it can be the destruction of your life, or it can be the salvation of your life and change you forever. So do you want to do it with God, or do you want him to do it and impose that on you in spite of your will? You know, because all things will come into the light. And if not now in this life, you got eternity that you got to watch out for. And I've talked too much, so I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, no, that's fine. You're good.
Well, it just something to wrap up, because I know we're close, is a couple questions. And I'm really asking this for myself, even though I'll say it a different way, but where is the towel in your life right now?
Yeah.
And the second question, and this is probably where it hits harder, and people need to really think about this. I know I need to do some more reflection on it, but who are you refusing to serve because you think they are beneath you, undeserving, or too inconvenient? So that's where, you know, I'm reminded, man, I think I'm doing great at serving. Right. And then I realize, no, I'm just serving what's easy. God's not asking me to just serve that group. They're deserving, but what about the undeserving? The towel is not a symbol of weakness. In John 13, it is what authority looks like when Jesus holds it.
I like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, guys, thank you guys so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. See you next week.